I am an Xbox fan, and by that I mean I'm a fan of Halo. And less so a fan of the big ass box that was forcibly attached to it like a brain leeching parasite. But that is not what I think of it now. No. As of 2021, Xbox is good again. Just look at this graph. Just kidding, this isn't a graph. This is a sponsorship. Do you like pet fish but simply aren't arsed to provide the essential services for said fish? Well, worry no longer. Introducing the tankless fish. They are super affordable and quite easy to take care of. Simply purchase at our online store and place on any flat surface. No need for water, food or any kind of attention whatsoever. Children love them. Why wouldn't you buy this for a child, you sick perv? Hey, what's that? Oh, that's just my fish on a $500 pedestal. Hey dad, check out my new tankless fish I just got. Pretty neat, huh? Son, that's a Komodo dragon. Haha, dad, dragons aren't real. To prove to you that this product's real, check out this angry letter from Peter. Available while fish last, as well as Facebook Marketplace. This sponsorship was brought to you by the Republic of the Congo. Yes, that's right, we still exist. Comparing the Xbox Series X's big demonstration event to the Xbox One event shows you just how far Xbox has come as a brand. From trying to spine you through the Kinect, to using Internet Explorer as a viable talking point for the E3 demonstration. Xbox was pretty much on its last leg, and Microsoft had begun talks to close their gaming division for good. There was very few positives about the Xbox One, with lackluster performances, an overpriced machine, and little to no first-party games coming out at release.
Where are they? Killing is me.
With the main exception being Forza and some miscellaneous Kinect games that no one really cared about. Halo 5 itself would not be brought onto that console until 2 years later, and even then it was widely hated. Reselling and sharing of games was made almost impossible based on Microsoft's restrictions. And finally, the biggest kicker of them all was the competition. Both Sony and Nintendo seemed to have a leg up on Microsoft, with these companies having learned the trials and tribulations from previous console generations. The Wii U for Nintendo and the PS3 for Sony. These setbacks were what led to the massive improvements to their new siblings in the form of the Switch and the PS4. This meant that both these companies were coming with their best products, as they could no longer afford to lose more of their fanbase. I've always considered desperation and fear to be a very powerful motivator. When someone is forced onto the edge of a cliff, there are two options. 1. Jump and give up. Accept that you have lost, give up everything and perish. Or 2. Push forward, acknowledge your weaknesses, shortcomings and failures, but retune yourself in order to face your problems, and little by little, failure after failure, you will start to succeed. The most powerful thing you can have is adaptability and the ability to get back up again. And thanks to Phil Spencer along with several members of the Xbox team, they were able to turn this all around. It took time. Xbox had to spend the last 7 years to recover from the launch, but now Xbox is back and is on its way to regaining its previous glory since the day of the original Xbox. This has been brought on a large part by the essential role played by Phil Spencer as the head of Xbox, as he was one of the leading factors as to why the brand was not axed. He took over Xbox post-launch in order to repair the brand. In the following months, Microsoft went on damage control, staff were fired, the company was restructured, and Xbox started removing some of the most problematic features from the console. This included the Kinect, the always online aspect, and the lack of ability to share the games. In response, PlayStation made this video.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
However, there was one issue that even Philly S couldn't solve: the lack of games.
You serious?
Now, thanks in no small part to Don Matrick, thanks by the way, there is no games. That is still a problem to this date, with many games like Crackdown 3 and Scalebound postponed as long as several years, with not many exclusives released over the life cycle of the Xbox One whatsoever. We did get Battletoads though, so yeah, I think that's a pretty good compensation. I'll take that. So, games were quite sparse. However, the same cannot be said for hardware. Over those 7 to 8 years, Xbox made it very clear, while they didn't have much in terms of games, they made up for it through hardware. Throughout the Xbox One generation, there was 2 extra versions created, each made to fit a specific category for consumers. A cheap diskless version for basic consumers in the form of the X, and a high-end machine designed for dedicated gamers in the form of the X. Going over to the software side, Xbox has constantly updated and improved on their user interface. With increased updates to the layout, this helps to make the Xbox more user-friendly. But I still don't know why they didn't go back to the original Xbox 360 design.
God, you're so beautiful.
I mean, the UI just needed a small tweak and update, and it would have been far better off. But by far, the most important feature for the Xbox One and future consoles has got to be Game Pass. Game Pass was revealed as of February 28th, 2017, and was made to be a video game subscription and cloud gaming service for use on console and Windows 10. And I'm gonna be honest, I like the idea. A subscription service that would allow me to play a large variety of games for a cheap price, but I was skeptical. Would it fail? Would it be overpriced? Would they roll it out too quickly? Surprisingly, no. They took their time with it, putting in a large amount of effort into crafting an amazing service for the users over the course of several years. However, I find myself a small bit disappointed. While I do enjoy the success a greater deal than my disappointment, I still have a small part of me that wishes that the service had failed, just for the fact that I would be able to watch and enjoy the horrendous and hilarious collapse. Luckily for me, there was an alternative: Google Stadia. Having seen the possible profits from such a service such as Game Pass, Google could not contain their greed and rushed ahead with their own service, speed rushing the process of creation, which of course led to them crashing and burning in a spectacular fashion. Most of the games wouldn't work, there were frame rate issues, and lawsuits over 4K claims, and moreover, they're actually doing somewhat decent now and may actually show signs of improvement, provided they don't lock more developers out of their emails. Okay, now on to all the Xbox Series X stuff. The Xbox Series X was unveiled at E3 2019 with the design being revealed at the Game Awards. The emphasis of this console was streaming and backwards compatibility. There were also rumors of a low-cost version which ended up being true in the form of the Xbox Series S, which can be clearly seen here in the back of Phil's office. Both consoles were set for release as of September 8th, 2020. At launch, it was a hit. Critics were positive about the improved graphics, ability, and strong backwards compatibility. However, the lack of exclusives had led them to being uncertain of the console's power, and the fact that the user interface was quite similar to the Xbox One's didn't do it any favors. But it was a strong start. The Series X was considered the better unit between it and the PlayStation 5, due to the next generation focus of Sony, as well as missing older games and the Xbox having better hardware and software. As for sales, Philly S has stated that they will not release the exact sales figures, but they have confirmed that this console generation has been the largest launch of any Xbox console ever. But due to this, there has been a constant shortage of these devices. I mean, even 6 months later, there were shortages. Although I should mention that this is not limited to just the fact that this was the biggest launch. Certain events have led to disruptions in the supply chain, meaning only so many consoles could be made at a given time. This caused somewhat of an issue. Due to the law of supply and demand, the price of the device was inflated exponentially, and scalpers were quick to notice this opportunity and act on it. Through an army of bots, scalpers began gathering both PS5s and Series X's in large amounts. You can now see a large amount of these devices on eBay or second-hand sites for large sums of money, and I mean lots of money. Now let's talk about some of their more recent events. On March 9th, Microsoft officially acquired ZeniMax Media, giving access to all of Bethesda's Softworks studios to Microsoft for the cheap price of only $7.5 billion. This deal brings the number of Xbox first-party studios up to 23. This gives them control of some of the most influential games ever to grace the world. From such classics such as The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Fallout 76, and the highly acclaimed Bethesda title Wet. Microsoft has been acquiring studios like a plague doctor collects corpses. This has been a coordinated effort to obtain a large range of exclusive games, as this was the biggest problem in the previous console generation. Along with these acquisitions, they also receive the games produced by that studio. And where do those games go? To Game Pass, of course. All Bethesda, Obsidian, 343 Studios, and even more games go directly to Game Pass. There are currently hundreds of games, both old and new, on Game Pass at this moment, and is one of the main buying points for the new Xbox generation, with several deals being offered alongside both consoles, often costing less than both the console and Game Pass Ultimate as a whole. What I'm trying to say is Xbox is currently doing everything in its power to regain its fans. The deals they are offering are amazing and extremely competitive. Xbox Game Pass is a godsend, and you should definitely take advantage of it. The future for Xbox is bright, and I feel that people should take advantage of it. I know there are not many games coming soon for the Xbox, but I would plead with you to hold in there for a bit longer. All that being said, if you made it to the end of the video, please consider subscribing and liking. I would really appreciate it. Heck, any criticism you might have with my videos, I'll take it. Thank you for watching. Adios.